Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. I'm Kelly, and today we are doing a guest episode. So we are joined by the amazing Alissa Anglis. She is a personal trainer, a content creator, a podcaster. She is the ultimate hype woman. She will make you feel like $1 million in just like talking to her for 5 minutes. And she is also the magician behind the scenes here at both Mindful in Minutes and Yoga for You. She does all sorts of incredible things to help me out, to take things off of my plate. She helps with social media. She is the one that took all of the great videos that you saw when we were in Scotland. She also helps to upload to YouTube, just so many amazing things. She makes my life so much easier, and she's so incredible at what she does, even though she is convinced every time we talk, at a minimum every week, she's going to get fired, and she never is. Alissa, welcome to Mindful in Minutes for the first time on the mic instead of listening on the back end and making the magic happen.
It's actually, first of all, that intro, unreal. I'm going to make that my alarm clock in the morning. That's what's going to wake me up every day. That's truly, to hear Kelly's voice say this, I'm just like fangirling. Honestly,
to hear
genuinely.
That I won't fire you.
Yeah, that's the part, actually. I'm going to make that every time you text me, it's going to be like, you're not getting fired today. I'm literally going to make that the text tone because I need that. My anxiety needs that.
Well, but we're supposed to be talking about confidence, Alissa.
Yes.
So that is the one place
You're right.
that you need more confidence, is that you are amazing at your job, and that when I schedule a meeting or text you, that you are not, in fact, being fired. That's
going to be my next round of affirmations. Kelly will not fire you. Kelly will not fire you. Truly right. And genuinely. But it's so amazing to be on here. I literally, little 20-year-old Alissa would have never thought, truly, like in the sauna listening to these podcasts, that I would be on here. So this is like such an experience, truly. Like I'm actually fangirling more than ever.
Thank you. Like I said, Alyssa's the ultimate hype woman. And even though you are on the payroll, you are not being paid to be here and just tell me about how amazing you think I am. But I knew that when it was time to talk about confidence, that you were the only one that I could have on this show, because you are so good at what you do. Not only do you work with confidence every day as a personal trainer, but it's also something in your own personal brand that you explore so much. And you just have this confidence. And I have so many questions for you as to how you obtain this confidence. Maybe it was always there. Maybe you've built it up. And also you're just so good at helping other people find their confidence as well. And I haven't talked about confidence since 2021. I just looked it up before we hopped on. But I did do a Cultivating Confidence episode like 4 years ago. And I haven't really talked about it since. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it with you.
It's kind of crazy to take like a full circle, and I'm really interested to get into that too, because I was journaling after Scotland, and I was like kind of assessing my confidence and how that's changed over the years. And I just remember trying so hard to be confident around that same time, because I listened to that podcast when it came out. So it's like around that same time, I'm like struggling so hard, and I was like writing in my journal. I'm like, it's so crazy. I don't really have to try to feel like that anymore. Like it's really just all the hard work that I've done, like all the things that we'll talk about, like the mental things, the physical things, everything that I've done to like really build it, is finally I'm just like able to live it. And it's amazing to like even understand that, because I remember, like I said, listening to that podcast and being like, okay, Alissa, like I'm going to continue to do this every day until I feel good. And now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, what is that, 4 years later? And I'm like, wow, it really worked, like actually worked. So it's kind of crazy.
That is amazing. And I also think that it's incredible that you not only work with confidence, but that you found confidence at like such a young age as well. I feel like, at least for me, my 20s was really about like learning and kind of like building confidence. But then my 30s was really just sort of like letting it happen and like just stepping into it. Yeah, and confidence has felt different to me in my 20s versus my 30s. And we're going to talk about that too, because we have a little bit of an age gap. Alissa is 9 years younger than me. We almost have the same birthday, actually. And so when Ashley Wynn, who's been on this podcast as well, she has read both of our birth charts, and she let us know that because we're almost exactly 9 years apart, that we have a lot of like similarities in our birth chart, but like they mirror each other, which I think is so interesting. So you have two Geminis on the mic today. Who knows what's going to come out?
Everything and anything, the most amazing things ever.
The gift again. We have to spend the first 30 minutes of all of our meetings just chatting and catching up and talking about it.
Literally. Like, do you have anything to say about business? No, me either. All right, cool. No. That's literally how it goes. Literally.
Yeah, that is how it goes. But I thought we could start with just a little bit of fun. Do you remember how we first met? Because I do.
I do, but I would love to hear your interpretation. But I'll say mine because I tell this story all the time. I met you first when I was a fangirl. Like, I will use this word over and over again. You can just replace my name with fangirl. I was fangirling and I was listening to her podcast for, I want to say probably about a year. And I messaged her to be on my podcast. And she, by the gift of the universe, messaged me back. And I just remember dropping my phone in my kitchen and being like, oh, Kelly said yes. And then when she was on my podcast, okay, cool, amazing, we record this podcast. But I'm more concerned at the fact that she wanted to talk to me after. She's like, yeah, you want to chat? And I'm like, yes? Do I want to breathe? Yes. Like, what? So that's how we first met, virtually.
That's how I remember it too, is that I was on your podcast and we were chatting. And then I also remember that then we talked on your podcast, but then we were just chatting off mic too. And that we were just having, just a lot of fun. And I remember that particular night when I was recording, because it would have been a couple of years ago. And I think Pork Chop was young, I think. Yeah. Was this before? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think Pork Chop was young. I was in the same dark closet but I don't think we did video then. So you didn't probably know it, or maybe you did. I don't know. But I was in this, I was in the same dark closet, but I remember I was kind of tired. I wasn't in the best mood. It just been Pork Chop was really little and I was just feeling run down and drained. And I was okay, I said I'd do this. So I'll do it. But I just remember just having so much more fun and just being this is really fun. And then we were chatting after and it's I was a new mom. I wasn't really chatting with a lot of people. And so we were just having a good time, just talking about whatever. And I just remember just having so much fun being that was such a really good time. And then our paths just have kept kind of crossing ever since until a spot at Team Yoga for You opened up, and it had to do with social media and things like that. And I was and Daniela, who everyone also knows, Daniela, bestie of the pod, she happened to be the one because I was chatting with her and I was hey, I have this position. Aren't you with Alissa? And you guys were in Italy, right?
Yeah. This was a year ago. It was on my birthday a year ago.
Oh, yeah. And I was can you just feel, I didn't think that you would even be interested in the position because you have so much going on. And so I was can you just put out some feelers and see if maybe Alissa would be looking for a little bit of a side hustle. She'd ever help me out with some things, and everything just worked out. And now for a year we've been able to work together, which has been really nice.
It's insane actually how time has passed. That was I'm telling you, it was so crazy. And I tell my parents it all the time. It's just to see how everything played out. From me just taking the chance, that's the one thing too. It's here I am listening to this huge meditation podcast, and I'm just I'm just gonna message her for my little rinky dink. I keep calling it rinky dink, my dear Alissa. I'm I'm gonna just get her on here, and you did not have to do that, but you were like that. I think that's so cool to just be see a small podcast and be yeah, of course, and just do it, even when you have all that stuff going on in your life. And then boom, it's just one thing after another. Then I meet you in Iceland and catapulted, truly.
And then we met again in Portugal. And then we were just together, recording this a little bit ahead of time, but we were just together not that long ago in Scotland. Alissa actually got to be my roommate. It was me, her, and Daniela. So she got to hear us cackling all night long into the middle of the night through a wall. And
I've never been so happy to sleep on a couch, truly. I'm I'm in a couch, but
you did not have to tell them you're on a couch.
I mean, I was on a king size bed. It was luxurious.
Okay, to be clear, you do not have to sleep on a couch to come on a retreat. However, the way that this room was configured, Alissa opted for the couch.
Yes, I volunteered as tribute. But in other retreats, I've never had to sleep on a couch, so it's okay.
Yeah, the ones where she comes as an attendee, but then when she came on the job, then all of a sudden she found herself being in a room with Daniela and I, and she's I'll I'll take the couch.
It was amazing, actually.
I don't. You did tell me that you were sleeping great on that couch.
I was. It was so comfy with my eye mask, like a
That's
queen.
Right. I love that.
Literally like a queen.
Okay, so one thing before we could dive into confidence that I thought could be kind of fun, because we always have to chat a little bit before we can get down to business. It's just our style. Since you know me both personally and professionally, also you're just very funny. I'm curious, what is something that either you think people don't know about me but should, or something that would surprise them? You've known me for so long and you know me so well. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Okay. Well, obviously, there's a million things that I could think of, but the first one is that Kelly, when she sets a goal, like, it's already done. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, there's literally no option. Like, I can't remember the exact wording that you used. For the first time that I heard you say this type of phrase.
I know what you're gonna say.
It's like, I can't remember the wording, but it's like, when I, like, what is the words? You have to help me out here.
Was it when I said we just casually had a meeting and I was talking about something that I had, and I was like, oh, and I set this goal for myself, and it's pretty ambitious, but I set high goals for myself because I know that I'll make them.
Yes. Yes. And I remember her
also confidence.
And no, literally that part. Because you know what the craziest part is she tells me this goal, and I was like, okay, Kelly, of course I believe in Kelly, duh. This girl did it, and she does it every time. I'm like, damn, look at her go. So that's one thing. Like, I knew you were ambitious, but I'm like, you're there. You're on the cloud. You're living in the cloud. So that's one.
I should have known that's what you were going to say, because I remember that was one of our first meetings, and I just remember you being like, that is the kind of energy I'm going to take and move forward with in my life. And this is something that also my therapist and I unpack sometimes, because it can be a good thing, but also when you are a high achieving woman, which you and I both are, I know like the majority of these podcast listeners also are. And it's something that then when you are always overperforming, then you set such high expectations for yourself that you find you're always having to do more and more and more and more and more to then like meet those expectations. But then also I think it allows other people around you to then not necessarily underperform, but then to become so reliant on you because they're so used to you like doing it all, that then other people around you then feel like that it's okay for them to do less. And that makes sense, but that's something that I often have to unpack on myself. And then I also have to unpack why setting these goals are so important to me and why I go after them the way that I do. And so Lindsay, my therapist, and I, we do talk a lot about that. And on the flip side, I just love what I do so much. And I love creating, and and I mean, you know this, we talk about this day in and day out. Every week we're talking about this. But then like when I come up with these ideas, I just get so excited about them. And so I'm like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then I want to have this many people join and it'd be so cool. And then this is the vision. And I'll like walk you through what the vision is. And I just get so excited about it that I think that really helps to then like propel forward. Absolutely. When you have that goal, when you're just like so excited about it. And I do get very, very excited about these things. So
it's so motivating too, just to like actually see it happen. Cause like I'm so grateful. I get to like see the seedlings start and then like they just flourish. And I'm like, wow, I got to see that all like grow as a baby. It's been so cool. I do want to share one more thing.
Okay.
That I feel like listeners need to know. Okay. Kelly can either go from like 15 minutes of like nonstop novel texting with you and then just like off grid for like 5 days. Within seconds. Like, it's not even, there's no warning sign. Like, it's just like, we're having this, like, not like literal novels scrolling back, or 2-3 minute long voice messages, and then boom, it's like, oh, off grid. That's one thing I think they need to know.
That is one of the realest things anyone has ever said to me in my whole life. And it is so true. And you know, every time then when I come back, and I will tell people, I will respond to your text message in either 7 seconds or 7 business days. It will not be anything in between. Yes. And you know what happens, because I find myself then always explaining, because you'll respond and then, yeah, like it looks like I like just died, just deceased, and like
Yes.
I'm gone, left this world. And often what's happening is we're having these conversations, this like Gemini, and then me also being a Gemini and neurodivergent, like stream of consciousness, just like brainstorming all these things, whatever. And then something will happen, like something will happen with the kids, or I'll have a meeting, or I'll have something, and I have these like little pockets, and then that derails me so far that it's like it is out of my brain and it's gone, and then I won't respond again until the next time I think of you, which might be days later, and I'm like, I have to tell Alissa about this, and then I look, I'm like, I never finished that. So that is one of the realest things anyone said to me, and it is so true.
I love it, though. I love that about you, truly. It's my favorite part. Like, yesterday we were both on our phone, and she's like, since we're both here on our phone for the past 3 minutes back and forth, why don't we just do a quick meeting? Because who knows truly when we're going to be able to do it.
And then, you know what happened the minute that I opened up my laptop and I joined, because I was hiding from the kids. They're supposed to be outside playing, and then Pork Chop showed up. And so then it was me, Alissa, and Buzz Lightyear on the meeting.
The king.
And not a lot was discussed other than Buzz Lightyear and all sorts of other things. It's like, they know. That's the thing, too. They know if I'm either messaging you or I'm trying to get something done or I'm about to open my laptop for a meeting. That is when they'll decide. They'll be outside doing the sprinkler, whatever, because it's warm out. And then it's like they just know I've opened my laptop, and they're like, it is time to go be a nuisance. Like, I need to go destroy things. I need to
chaos.
Go. Yes, that is what I need to do right now. That's exactly what happens.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
That is so funny. I appreciate that. So
they're my besties.
So what you want people to know about me is that I am both ambitious and very absent-minded with my texting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
They need to know. Like, they can't continue listening to Anywhere podcast without knowing this. It's a necessity. Yeah.
I'm also very much a human. I can be both a meditation teacher and have ambition and completely ghost people regularly.
Absolutely. As she should.
When I'm texting.
As she should.
It's so funny.
Exactly.
Okay. Alissa, should we get down to business?
Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. Okay. What does confidence look like to you?
Well, I feel like it can mean a bunch of different things, but currently at this stage in my life, I think it's just full acceptance of your authenticity in like the present moment. I would say that's the best way to describe it. And it's like being imperfect and seeing your flaws and seeing your greatness and your weaknesses and just fully accepting it. That's been, for me, the most, like, the best way to kind of describe it. And that's how you really get to, like, exude that type of energy, is when it's not fake and you're not trying to be this perfect person. It's just, like, being everything that you are and accepting it. I feel like that would be the best way to kind of describe it right now.
Yeah.
How would you describe it? I'm curious.
I think I would describe it, I think, in a similar way. What I was going to say is that I think for me, or just in general, confidence is like a second level. The first level is getting to know your true self and live from your most authentic self. And then confidence is then allowing that true self to be seen. And so when I think about confidence, I think about, at least in my life, when I was working on, because I had very, very low self-esteem. I really struggled with confidence for a very long time. I didn't feel accepted by my peers when I was younger. I had a hard time making friends. There was a time where I didn't have a very healthy relationship with food. I was self-isolating, so many things, so many ups and downs, twists and turns. I was very lonely for a very long time. And it wasn't until I started to get to know myself. And to me, this is all kind of intertwined, of like loneliness, true self-confidence. I think it all is kind of intertwined, because I didn't have any confidence because I thought, well, people don't like me. Like, people don't want to be around me. I'm not accepted by people. I don't have friends. And so, of course, I didn't have confidence because I didn't feel like I was accepted by my peers. But what I didn't realize is that I actually didn't accept myself. Yeah. And that was the real issue. And also, not only was that why I was lacking confidence, but that was also why I was struggling to connect with other people. I wasn't connected with my own self. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about confidence, I would describe it as allowing yourself, like just allowing your authentic self to be seen and to not be afraid, because not everyone is going to like it. And it's one thing to show up and to say, oh, there's this version of me, or, I put on this mask, or I show up as this person. But that's not really who I am. So if people reject it, then it doesn't hurt as hard versus where if someone rejects you, and I mean, this still happens in my life. There's people who do not like me, people, that are closer to me in life, people that are far away, people out there on the internet that maybe listen to this podcast. I don't know. But that in a way stings a little bit more because it's just my true authentic self, and that feels different. And so I think confidence is letting that part be seen, even knowing that it's not going to be accepted by everyone, and that that's okay. And that if you just know who you are and you let that truest version of yourself shine and be seen, I think that's what confidence really is.
Absolutely. And I think Kelly gave me permission to swear on here, FYI.
I did. I said I know how to check the e-box now, so I can be explicit, courtesy of Gina.
So I'm going to say this because, like, more recently, I've just come into a stage of my confidence where I'm very outspoken with how I present myself. And I know that it's not very conventional. And, like, if you do look at my social media, you can see that it's, like, a lot different than I feel like most people would present themselves. And it's truly just because, like, I don't give a fuck, actually. Sorry. Sorry. Like, I don't.
Don't
like,
apologize.
But you're right. You're right.
Don't
no
apologize.
Apologizing. But
yeah.
I just, like, I don't care if people accept me or not, because like I said in the beginning, like, I know all the hard work that I put in to becoming this version of myself. And it's not even just about the world seeing it, but it's about me being able to live in it and not have to mask it and not have to sit in front of you or my clients or my parents or my best friends or a stranger in any different way. Like, I just get to show up as myself all the time, and I'm proud of it all. So I think that really is, like, what confidence has been for me too, is just, like, not giving a fuck what people see, like, or what they think or what they understand. And then also, like, I think another layer is accepting, kind of like what you're saying, accepting the fact that people aren't going to like that. And that's something that is definitely a struggle for sure, and something that I battle with a lot, especially because people get, the more confident that you get, the more secure that you get, the more outspoken other people get about how you're doing things. And that's the part where it kind of really almost tests, like, where you are and how secure you are and how sure you are and how confident you are, because people are going to come in and be like, but that's not right, Alissa or Kelly or whoever. Like, that's not right. You should be doing it like that. And it's just, it really tests, like, where you are in that journey.
Okay, I have so much that I want to unpack there. So I want to start with, where do I want to start? I think, you know what? Let's talk about, like, social media and all of this, because I think what you're talking about, and you can let me know if, I can edit these things if need be. But I think what you're talking about is the feedback that you get because in your personal brand, you show your body more on social media than, like, for example, I would, which this is not me saying one is better than the other. Or, like, on your podcast, you're very open with, like, sex and confidence and things like that, that you're comfortable just swearing, speaking however you want to talk. And I think all of that is great. And however, I know, because we've had these conversations before, that not everyone does. And I'm curious how that makes you. I haven't had that, just because I don't show my body and I don't usually swear on mic. Again, not because one is better than the other. It's just not usually what I do. However, the criticism that I usually get is, like, over my ambition, or, oh, well, you're on retreats, like, who's watching your kids? Or there's always something. It doesn't matter what you do. People will find things, or even people, they're like, oh, you married a doctor. Is that just, do you just want to be, like, a kept woman? It's so interesting because when I was the breadwinner for our family, because my husband was still in school, everyone was so critical of, like, my ambition and, like, oh, I'm working too hard, not supporting him, But now that he is finally in attending and working, like a decade later, then everyone's very critical and they're like, well, what about your career? You just want to be like a kept woman now. You're fine with like a man out earning you. I don't know. It's so interesting how even the criticism can change depending on your circumstances.
Yeah.
But honestly,
there's always something.
there is always something. And I think that's such a big piece of it, is that truly there's always something. And like the criticism that I got when I was starting my business in my early 20s versus the criticism that I got when I was really flourishing my business in my late 20s versus the criticism that I get now as someone who both runs a business and as a mom. It's just the criticism always changes, but what doesn't change is like who you are and how you feel about yourself. And that will not change. And that's what I've come to in my mind and my heart, is like, you're never going to please everyone. Again, you guys have heard me, if you've been around for a while, you've heard me say you're always going to be someone's goat cheese, which is so true. It's like, no matter what you do, someone's going to love it and someone's going to hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because I know the kind of criticism that you get, Alissa, is a little bit more unique because of the content of your brand and the way that you show up on social media. And so I'd love to hear you talk more about that.
Yeah. So it hits home for me when people come at me for the way that I present myself, because like I said, confidence for me has been a journey. So like when it comes down into being open about talking about sex, like that's something that I was like very prude growing up. Like I wanted to wait till marriage and everything. Like I'm not going to get into like those details, but like I was like, absolutely, that is a non-touchable topic. Like you don't talk about that. You cover up. Nothing, not for any type of reasons, just literally what I wanted to do for myself. And I feel like it really held me back from being able to express myself in a way that was fully and wholly me, because that's just like a version of yourself. And as women specifically, that we have to kind of withhold. And it's always something that's like meant for men or partners or whatever it may be. So me tapping into that and trying to like teach people that it's okay to talk about like sex when you're in a relationship, and it's okay if you're not happy in that part of your life and you want to talk openly about it. Like you don't have to not speak about it. So like it was something that was so special for me because it was a version of myself that I was holding back from getting to know for so long. And then I finally was like, okay, let me just like get to know myself. And I started writing blog posts about like conversations I was having with like my partners, or talking about like feeling good in my skin, because now I'm going through like, body image issues, as every woman goes through, anybody, not even women, people, and just like learning and kind of like writing through this journey. And it's like my podcast, my brand has been like from the very beginning of completely destroyed low confidence and learning how to talk about things that people don't let you really talk about, and like building up the confidence to inspire other people to be able to do that too. So the whole point of it is the fact that it's so untouchable. It's a topic that nobody really talks about. So like when people come at me for like doing it, it's almost, it like helps me be like, well, that's the whole point. Like you're getting offended because like you don't like to hear people talk about this, when in reality, sex is something that everybody's doing. There are kids all over the world. Like people are having children, which means people are having sex. So the fact that I can't talk about it is insane. And I'm a personal trainer. If I didn't show my body that I work so hard for, wouldn't that be like a red flag, in my opinion? It's like my body is such a work of art. I've crafted it and sculpted it, and I fuel it, and I bring it around the world. Like it's something that's like so special to me. And I feel like if people can like go out and travel the world and like show a picture of the Eiffel Tower because they're so excited to see this like amazing work of art, why can't I do that about my body? Like it's the same exact thing, and I'm creating it from scratch. Like you know what I mean? So it's just, for me, my being in my body, being confident in my body, and like the photo shoots that I do, like boudoir, or even just like posting in gym clothes. It's like, I know how hard it is and how hard I worked to work on my body and to work on how I feel my body. So me putting it out there is like my proof of like, okay, like you can feel amazing in your skin. And so it's just like when people come at me in my family, it started off with my family, obviously, because it's like when I made my podcast, it's like, of course, my mom's like, "Oh, Alyssa, why are you talking about sex on there?" And I'm like, because it's offending everybody. That's exactly why. It's like that's the whole point. And then they got on board, but it's like I definitely get still to this day a lot of backlash, like a lot of it like takes away my credibility in a lot of ways from people's perspective of like, oh, okay, well, if she's swearing, then she's uneducated. If she's posting her body, then she doesn't have respect for herself. And it's just like all of these meanings that people have assigned to these specific topics are the precise reason why I'm doing it. Because it's like, I am very careful with who I interact with and I let my body interact with, energy-wise and other way. And I put myself through college. Like I provide for myself. Like I have all these things that credit me to be this quote quote accepted woman, but all these other things that I do that aren't socially as accepted, it's like, oh my God, you know? Mm-hmm. So it definitely, it like hits sometimes because it's like, that's the whole point, guys. I'm trying to stir the pot.
And so the criticism comes, what do you do? How does it feel? What do you do?
So
walk me through that process.
I am learning as I go because I've realized, like I said, I am learning more and more every day as I grow, as I do things like going on retreats and meditating and learning how I want to see myself as a person. I get more and more confident. And as that happens, it's almost like it's like a magnet to hate. Like the stronger confidence that you get, the stronger hate that you get. And people just feel very, I don't know what the word would be. Like as if they can share their opinion without you asking. As if they can be like, well, you're not supposed to be doing that. Entitled. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So how I've started to look at it is just training my brain, because obviously it hurts regardless when people don't like you. We're human beings. So it's like learning how to not have it hurt and just to understand that there's just a difference in opinions and there's a difference in the way that people want to present themselves and feel about themselves and see themselves and not take it personally. That's like the biggest thing that I'm teaching myself is it's never actually personal. It's always just based off of how somebody else feels about if they were to do it. Because in reality, me posting in a bathing suit is not going to affect my dad, truly. Like, it's not going to affect my dad. He might not like it, but is it going to affect his day-to-day life? No. So it's like, you can't take it personally. If somebody just does, if they don't like it, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're any lesson or anything like that. It's just me learning not to take it personally and to just respect how other people feel. And a lot of the times people kind of say, I don't know if it sounds super basic, but just like blocking out the noise and silencing it out. Because at the end of the day, this is another thing that I really like. When it comes down into teaching yourself how to be confident, is remembering that when you wake up in the morning and you go to bed, it's you. It's always you. When you're driving in the car to work, it's you. Like, you are the only person that is 100% with yourself all the time. And you're the one who has to be okay with how you're living your life. Nobody else. And actually, you taught me that, Kelly.
Did I?
You did teach me that, yeah. I guess indirectly. But it's like, you have to really be happy with your own decisions and how you're presenting yourself. So it's just not taking things personally, respecting what other people think, and remembering that there's no one else that really matters at the end of the day. Because when you start your life, it's you, and when you end your life, it's only you. So you have to just be happy with how you're doing it, you know?
100%. Yes. I couldn't agree with that more. I do think that it's, you're the one. I think a lot about this when I was getting feedback about starting my business, or people were like, oh, you're just going to be a yoga teacher. And granted, this was like this was what? I don't even know. Like 13 years ago. And people were just like, oh, so you're just going to like stretch with people all day. I remember there are a lot of people that are very condescending about the idea that I had for both Yoga for You. And then when I said I was going to start a podcast, there's just a lot of like condescension. And the thing that I want to call out that's really changed my life is learning the difference between an opinion and feedback. And you, Alissa, get so many opinions from people. Yeah. And like, I get them too. Again, Alissa is behind the scenes. Like, she sees the reviews and the comments and, you know, things like that. Like, there's a lot of opinions out there. And I think that often people, there's a few things going on. I think they often want to feel heard. Mm-hmm. I think that, you know, if there aren't a lot of people listening to them in their life, like just, you know, sharing opinions on the internet can feel good. I also think that a lot of times when someone sees someone else either following a dream or doing something that either they don't feel comfortable doing or that they maybe deep down never felt like they had the courage to do, at least that's my hypothesis for when I see people that are just so upset that like I have a career that I'm so excited about and then I feel so fulfilled by, even though it's like, it's getting more conventional, but at the time very unconventional. I think deep down it was because there were people that they had a dream that they didn't follow and that makes them feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. And what you're describing is just people's opinions. And so I always give this example, like in yoga teacher trainings and things like that, where an example of an opinion, let's say you're a yoga teacher, right? This is what I can pull from because this is the world that I know. But someone's opinion might be, oh, Kelly, thank you so much for class. That was great. My body's feeling really good, but I didn't really care for the music today. It just, you know, wasn't really my favorite. It kind of, I just didn't like the lyrics or whatever. Where someone in that same class, I'd be like, oh, thank you so much for class. I feel great. And I loved the music today. Like that playlist was like amazing. Can you send me the link? Those are two people's different opinions on the music. At the end of the day, it's the playlist that I picked. It is neutral. However, someone's feedback might be something like, oh, Kelly, thank you so much for class today. You know, I noticed, usually I'm in the front row, but I came in kind of late today. And so I was in the back row and I noticed that from the back row, it was kind of hard to hear your cues over the music. And I'd never noticed that before from the front row, but I noticed it from the back row. So I just wanted to share it with you. That's someone's feedback. Feedback is like hey, you may not have known this. Here's an idea on how you could quickly fix it in like 2 seconds. And then you get to decide what you want to do with that feedback. Like I could get that feedback and decide I want to turn the music up or turn the music down in my classes or whatever it is. But being able to distinguish between someone's opinion versus someone's feedback. And this always happens in my email inbox. If I get an email and the subject line is feedback, it is never feedback. It is never feedback. It is going to be a brutal opinion.
Yeah.
It's never feedback. But learning to distinguish that for myself of being like, wow, this person has a really spicy opinion about something that I did or I said or my style or a certain technique I used or whatever it is. And being able to decipher between those two things has really helped me when it comes to dealing with criticism and what I do with that. And then ultimately being able to handle criticism and not having it be this big hit to my confidence and being able to let both of these things exist at the same time, to have opinions out there about me and also to be able to show up as my most authentic self, letting that self be seen, which to me is what confidence really is, was being able to distinguish between these two things. And so I appreciate you sharing that because criticism is hard. I mean, it's not to say that I'm like magically floating on this cloud and criticism never gets to me ever. It's hard and it stings, but it doesn't have to be this total like spiral stuck in this loop. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that.
I think, and I really like those examples. What I've been learning is whether it's an opinion or feedback, I have learned to just respond as if it was feedback, even if people are sharing their opinion, because a lot of the times people will share their opinion just because they want to feel validated and heard. And it's like, okay, when you're secure in your confidence in what you're doing, in your purpose, and you're walking in what it is that you believe in, if somebody's like, I didn't like that music, like, thank you so much for that feedback. Like, I really appreciate it. I'll see, like, I'm going to check out some playlists later. Or even not even making a change. It's just like, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And not even in a condescending way. It's just like, I hear and I respect how you're feeling. And that's what I've been responding with when it comes down into the hate that I'm getting, because it's very unsolicited things. And it's just like, I really do appreciate you you sharing that. And somebody said to me, like, I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. I'm like, no, of course you didn't hurt my feelings. I completely respect people's viewpoints. I am just really secure in what I'm doing. And that's just my response when it comes down into it, because it's like, people will think, just like you're saying, that their opinion is feedback, when in reality, you're just telling me you don't like something. That's, if you want me to hear that, I will absolutely hold the space to hear that. But I'm not going to let it change my way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious if you can tell me more about like your confidence journey. So mine very much, I alluded a little bit to it. I'll keep it brief, but my personal confidence journey was really about getting to know myself better. And the more that I got to know myself, then it was about just almost like a little bit of like exposure therapy, then letting parts of that be seen. And for me, that looked like, you know, teaching yoga classes and kind of just letting myself be open to people being like, oh, you just got a college degree and now you just want to teach yoga. Because I kind of went right out from college, and I took my first teacher training like 2 weeks after I graduated college. And so it was just a little bit about getting to know myself, and then slowly the parts I'd get to know about myself, like letting those parts be seen. And of course, some I keep, closer to my chest, as I, still do even to this day. I don't think you have to share everything with everyone. And I don't think that to truly be confident that means you have to be 100% an open book all the time, but letting myself be seen and learning more about myself and like what actually makes me happy. What do I find to be fulfilling? Slowing down, turning inward, being present with myself, with all of it, digging deeper, peeling back those layers, like what's actually, what's actually holding me back from my confidence. At first I thought it was loneliness, but then I realized it was like this self-loneliness that like I missed myself. I wanted to reconnect, get to know myself better, return to that person that's within. And so then over time, it's been a very long time doing that and just continually, I don't know, you've Alissa, you have heard me say this before because I use this analogy a lot when we talk, but I always say like, you just have to show up and start and continue to lay bricks, like whether it be in business or something else. It's like, if you want to build a house, you can't start with like the interior decorating because there's nothing there. It's just like you have a plot of land and you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a house. And maybe you have blueprints, but like the first thing you have to do and that you have to keep doing is then every day you just have to show up and start like laying some bricks. And then before you know it, there'll be more. There'll be a foundation. There'll be some walls. There'll be more and more and more. And every single day, if there's something that you're working at, and I have to tell myself this too, is when I'm working at something every day, just lay some bricks. Even if you have to drag yourself out of bed and lay one brick, do that.
Exactly.
And so it's just been like a decade of showing up and laying bricks and continuing to build. And that's what it's been for me. But I want to hear what it's been like for you, going from struggling to self-confidence to now being so open and secure in who you are, how you show up, how you let people see you, and how you see yourself.
I love the bricks idea. I think that's a really good way to like visualize it. I think that for me, what I really, and it sounds so basic and it sounds so simple, kind of the same thing of just like, of giving yourself time with yourself, honestly. But a lot of the things I feel like, especially for moms listening or people in the service industry or people who work with clients, honestly, pretty much anybody who works with people, we're so used to giving so much. And you, like me specifically, like working with kids, it was like always trying to fuel everybody else's self-worth. And by the end of the day, you realize that all you've been doing all day is just giving and giving compliments to everybody else. And I just sat down one day and I realized, I'm like, I look at myself in the mirror, and the only time I look at myself in the mirror is to fix something. Like I'm fixing my hair, or I'm brushing my hair, or I'm fixing my shirt, or whatever it is. And the only time that I'm saying something nice out loud is when I'm saying it about somebody else. Like, okay, I love that shirt, or oh my gosh, you look so pretty today, or oh Queen, you look beautiful. Like I'm just constantly saying it about everybody else. And I think that was my first brick, I guess, for myself, of like me realizing that I never say good things about myself. So I forced myself to do this. Like sticky notes are a very big thing to me. They're very sentimental. So I covered all of my mirrors in sticky notes because if I looked at myself in the mirror at first, I would immediately just start picking apart things. And it's not just physical. It was not just physical. It was also like who I am, that I'm behind, or anything like that. So I started out with just writing down every single time I walk by the mirror, write something on the sticky note, something amazing about myself. And then little by little, now I'm journaling and I'm giving myself prompts of, okay, who am I? What do I love about myself? And it started off with 3 things. What are ways to describe myself? 3 things, 4 things. And next thing I know, now I'm writing pages and pages of all of these words because it's just the more that you force yourself, and I hate to say the word force because that's what it feels like at first. It does feel like you're like really like putting the effort in. But the more that you sit with yourself and you're like, you know what, I want to feel good about myself. That's really when it starts, when you're able to start laying down that foundation. And that's how it started for me. Because I work with my body a lot, it really was a very physical. It was always about how I looked. And I think that was the beautiful part about my journey because I'm really grateful that it was for that reason because I was able to learn what a journey is and processes and imperfections and being present. Like when you're working with your body and trying to change something about your body or trying to accept your body, you have to really learn what it means to be present. And with that allows you to kind of start to realize the things that you are, like who you are in the moment, what you're providing for yourself in the moment. And that really helped me a lot too, is just like being present. And that helped obviously with meditation and going on walks with myself, spending time with myself, no social media, like real undivided, not doing tasks, not brushing my hair, not brushing my teeth, not cleaning my house, like just like sitting in my own presence and learning how to appreciate that. It started off with something so simple and then it just like kind of spiraled down into like these deeper, like intimate moments with myself of being vulnerable and like seeing, I feel like I'm ranting now, the imperfections that I hold physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of those imperfections. And once I learned about those, instead of just trying to make myself see the good, once I learned about those, the things that I have that are imperfect, that maybe aren't my favorite thing about myself, and I learned to say, okay, I am all these things, and I'm present with that, and that doesn't make me any less of a person, or any less beautiful, or any less worthy, or things like that. That's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, I am her. I'm her. Like, I really am.
You are. You are.
That was it. That was the like real moment.
So much of that resonates with me because a lot of the things that you did, I did similar things when I was working on building confidence, and it's still something I still wake up every day and have to lay bricks in many different aspects of my life. But I think really changing the way that I spoke to myself, which is hard. And I think it's okay to use the word force because it does feel like that sometimes you're breaking a habit. You're trying to break an old habit and replace it with a better habit. Just like if you were trying to eat less sugar and eat more vegetables, at first your body's going to be like, wait a minute. But I want the sugar. I don't want the vegetables. And it's one of those things where it's like you have to just sometimes do those things and you have the greater vision. You know where, you know, what you're building with these bricks, but you still have to show up and lay the bricks. And so really changing the way that I spoke to myself. And I, you know, still there's times where I catch myself being like, ooh, we need to, focus on this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that also spending time with myself. I always say kind of like dating yourself in a way. It's like going and finding out like, what do you like? What do you think is fun? I don't do a lot of it now just because of time constraints, but like I used to love going to movies all the time by myself to just watch the movie and then like form my own opinions about it instead of being like going to someone else and then hearing like their opinions about it, or like I wouldn't look it up online or anything. I'd be like, I don't know, I'll go see this movie, and then just kind of form my own opinions about it. And even though it sounds so silly to be like, oh, just going to a movie alone helped you build confidence, but I think it helped me to become more comfortable just having my own experiences, forming my own opinions around that, like sharing and articulating what was in my mind, like what was on my heart with others. And I had to kind of do that for myself for a while until I felt a little bit more confident and comfortable doing it then around others. Because it's one thing to think, oh, I didn't really like that movie. And then maybe after the fact, I look it up and I'm like, wait a minute, everyone else really liked it. What's going on with that? That's one thing versus then doing that and seeing a movie with someone and then being like, I don't know, I didn't really like it. And putting yourself out there in that way and like dating myself, getting comfortable, doing things alone was really honestly like soul nourishing. I know it feels like a little funny at first, but that felt really good for helping with confidence. Also, I think that something that maybe it came more with becoming a parent, but I feel like I was doing this a little bit even before I was a parent. But I think the older I get, not that I'm old, but the older that I get, the more perspective that I have, and that a lot of times I was doing the best I could with what I had and becoming more confident because I can look back and have more compassion for myself and to just love myself a little bit more. One thing that really changed, not that we're talking about self-love, but I feel compelled to share, but one thing that really changed for me when I became a parent and how I viewed like self-love in particular was that I remember there was a time where I was really struggling. Pork Chop was really little. He'd just been born. And of course my body was really different, right? I mean, I'd just given birth, right? There was a lot going on. And that was really hard for me because I just had never experienced anything like that. I was like, well, what is happening with that? What is this? I've never seen this before. And I was so hard on myself. And I remember I was just like rocking, in the mom world, we call it like, you know, nap trapped, where it's like there's a sleeping baby on you. You're not going anywhere. And I was just kind of sitting there and I was looking at like his sweet little angelic face. And I was just so, so in love with him. But then I had so much like hatred for myself. And then I realized he's made up 50% of me. Like 50% of my DNA makes up his DNA. And looking at that, it just so much clicked into place that I was like, how is it possible that there's this part of me that's here in my arms that I can have such deep and intense unconditional love for, but yet the 100% of me that's here, I can feel so differently about. And I don't know, it just really, maybe that only resonates with me because it was a powerful experience I had.
I love that.
But it really changed the way that I looked at self-love and kind of becoming my own mother in a way at times, even though my mom is amazing, Mama Smith, we know her, we love her. But I think something about just being kind of like my own parent and sharing love with myself and helping to rebuild that confidence within, it just really helped when my perspective changed a little bit by now thinking a lot about confidence and raising children and raising both, you know, what will be men and women, having one of each. How do we, you know, raise our women versus our men to have confidence? And I think a lot about these things, and that then ultimately makes me think a lot about myself and how I want to do it differently. And I think, you know what, just because I'm doing it now with, you know, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I'm trying to instill, like Poppy has so much confidence. Alyssa knows this. Poppy already has, oh my gosh, so much confidence. She truly, if you ask her, and I have this on video, and I'll ask her and I'll go, who is a queen? And she'll say her real name, but she'll go, Poppy. And it's just the way she says it with like such sass. I thought she was going to say someone else like Mama or, you know, Aunt Dee Dee or something. And she's always just like basically like me. But she says it with just she's so just beautifully herself and lets everyone see it. And something that's important to me is like, I want to raise my children to have confidence. And the older you get, even, you know, from 1 to 4, even with Pork Chop, it gets more complicated because the world just gets more complicated the older that you get. But just because I'm trying to instill these things in my kids now doesn't mean that I can't kind of reprogram myself with the same things. And that every time I try to raise confident children, I feel like it heals myself a little bit more. It gives me a little bit more insight or more tools in my toolbox. So any other parents that are listening, at least from my perspective, I don't know, maybe thinking about that, it might be helpful. It was really helpful for me when I was actually building this confidence. And even the last, now that I'm, you know, about to be a parent for almost 5 years, a lot's changed in the last 5 years. And I think a lot of it has been just now having to do things and teach and be a parent. And it makes me think a lot about, I could do these things for myself too. I saw something, now I'm the one ranting, but I saw something.
No, I love it.
Or rambling, whatever you said. I saw something online the other day, and it was like every time, you basically, it was saying like, when you teach your kids how to manage their emotions or be okay with their emotions, you're basically like healing your inner child in a way. So every time you hold your kid and you say, it's okay to cry, you're also telling yourself, hey, you know what? It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, or it's okay to have big feelings. Or if I tell Poppy, Poppy is mad, right? We're talking about, trying to label these things, and she's, day by day, I can tell we're knocking on Two's doorstep, but being like, it is okay to be a woman and to be loud and to be frustrated and to be angry and to have opinions. And that's something that I think it's just kind of generational. Like when I was growing up, I didn't really feel that way. And so every time I tell her that, I'm also telling myself that. And it's just been so life-changing.
I love that. And I tell my clients that a lot too. I train a lot of moms, and I always will say that. I'll be like, would you say these things that you're saying about yourself, would you say that to your kid? Like if
or your best friend.
Exactly. Even if you don't have kids, would you want your mom hearing you say that about you? Would you want your best friend hearing that you say that about you? It's like, I will say that all the time. And I'm really, that's a stickler thing that I am with my clients is hearing, especially when people, you can tell off rip, my phrase. You can tell off rip that yeah, exactly. You could tell like when somebody is feeling self-conscious by the way that they present themselves or talk about themselves, sometimes like joking about insecurities. And I will be very stickler, like, okay, I need you to send me an affirmation. Like, I need you to text it to me at the end of the day. And I will be on people. And that's one of everybody always says it. That's the hardest part. Because they're like, I can't think of anything. And I'm like, you are literally in your own body right now. Like, this is you taking care of you. And you're telling me you can't come up with something nice to say. If I were to tell you to say something nice, exactly, like your favorite person in the world, if I were to tell you to come up with one nice thing to say to them, you would come up with something immediately. But it's like we put ourselves, as life goes on and as our priorities get changed and we become mothers or fathers or best friends or caregivers, whatever it is, who we become, we like put ourselves on the back burner. And you don't realize it until you're at a point where somebody says, tell me 3 things that you love about yourself. And you're at a loss of words, So I think that I really resonate with that. And I tell people that a lot because it's like, I wouldn't want my mom hearing me say some of the things that I used to say to myself. And I would never say that to my mom as a child. Like I'm speaking, on Poppy's end, where it's like, that's how I'm able to kind of internalize it too. And it's like, just crazy how negative people can be about themselves. And kind of like circling back a little bit to the rewording it, there are so many different ways to say the things that people say about themselves, like negatively. Like I'll say a lot of times, like people come into my class and say, I'm so weak. Okay. What you can say instead is, wow, I'm working so hard today because it feels difficult. I'm working so hard today. Like everything is so challenging. I'm really pushing myself today. Like there's just ways for you to start learning how to reword some of the things that you're saying, So I think I really liked when you said that too. So I wanted to circle back on that because that's something that really changed a lot, like the narrative for me, because telling yourself not to feel it. If you feel like, if I'm feeling weak, I'm not going to tell myself, oh no, I cannot feel weak. Like you can feel weak, but like you need to tell yourself things to help motivate you and to help you look at it in a different way. So that way you keep going and you believe in yourself and you're confident in yourself, So I really liked that.
I took this workshop once from a child psychologist, and they said that the external voices that we hear as a child becomes our internal critic as we grow older. And nothing has like landed with me so deeply. It really changed the way that I thought about negative self-talk and asking myself, and maybe this is like a fun exercise for anyone listening, but those things that you do tell yourself, and we all have these handful of things that we, old reliable that we like to fall back on when we're having a particularly hard day that, oh, I'm lazy, or I'm not a good mom, or I am weak, or whatever, I'm not smart enough, whatever it is. And maybe ask yourself, who told me that? Or like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And I really do believe that the external voices that we hear when we're young and when we're children, and actually this workshop that I was doing, it was something that was saying, like, be an advocate for your children, because if you hear someone saying something like either not kind to your child or sometimes kind of flippant, that kind of step in and correct that other adult in front of them and say, actually, that's not true. And I think this is one, it was the point they were making is basically like, for Poppy, if they were like, oh, well, she's really spirited, or like trying to say like, oh, that's, oh, we don't yell, we don't scream, oh, we don't, or, oh, you have to give this person a hug or a kiss, and then, stepping in and saying, no, actually they don't, or, that's actually not true. It's perfectly fine for her to use her voice and to say no in that way.
Yes,
and to show them that correction in the moment, like adult to adult, because kids don't know. But that really made me rethink to some of these things, and a lot of them now I can pinpoint to certain individuals, and it's not always that people are malicious when they say these things. There's just things that are said around us that then we take on and we hold on to. And so maybe reflecting on that too, maybe sitting, taking a few deep breaths, quieting the mind, and asking yourself, is there someone who told me that? Was that an external voice that's now turned into my internal critic? And sometimes that helps to unpack it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Okay, I have a couple more questions for you if you have a few more minutes.
Of course.
Okay, cool. Because it is evening time when we're recording, and Alissa is an hour ahead of me, so it's getting late for me, so I know it's getting late for her. And she trains early in the morning, right?
Hot girls, we sleep whenever we want.
Okay, perfect. I'm so glad to know that. Okay, I am curious. I thought it would be kind of fun, since we almost have a decade age gap between the two of us.
Yes.
Let's compare and contrast what the biggest confidence struggles we have right now. And I'm curious if they're different because we're in different life stages. So what would you say is your biggest confidence struggle right now?
My goodness, that's so hard. Oh gosh. I feel like comparison is probably one of the biggest. And I am very curious to hear your point on this too, because I would like to share some of the things that I know about people who are in their 30s and what their version of comparison is. But I would say that comparison of other people, not of myself, not of my past self, nothing like that. Like my biggest struggle, and I feel like a lot of people in their 20s, is comparison of other people in their 20s and where they're at. Because in your 20s, it's like very much paths are different. Like people traveling, college, babies, houses, like it can be anywhere and everywhere. And a lot of the times I think that comparison is something that I've really had to learn to get rid of completely. So that is my biggest struggle, I feel like.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think
I want to know what you felt in your 20s too. I wonder.
Comparison was really hard for me in my 20s too. Absolutely. Comparison and then going against the grain was really hard for me.
Yes.
Like doing things that I knew maybe people wouldn't like. And then fear of judgment was a big one that held me back for a long time, was being judged. Yep. And like now I feel very much, I'm like, okay, whatever, like judge. I don't even know it. Okay, if someone can sit at home and quietly judge me, and like I don't even know it. So I don't, that means nothing to me. Yep. But I was really worried about this fear of like, what are people going to think?
Yeah.
And I think the more confident I became, the more that went away, because I do think it's kind of this natural antidote to worrying about what other people think is gaining more confidence. I'm trying to think back to, I do think in your 20s for some reason, and I mean, I did follow a lot of this timeline with the, exception of the career, but like I went to college, I found a man in college who then I married at 25, which now feels like a child bride to me. Wow. And then I know, feels like a child bride to me now. but at the time, right, it's like there's this universal timeline in your 20s that you're supposed to follow. And it's like you do this, and you go to college, and you get this piece of paper, and then you find someone, you start a job, and then a few years after that job, then you marry someone, and then a couple years after that, then you have children, and then you have children, and then you do, it's like this weird kind of universal timeline we've just decided that people should be following. And for what, I'm not sure, but I do remember that. And then comparison professionally, because when you're building a business, it's not like I just snapped my fingers and Yoga for You was here. I started with one class on a Friday night at my husband's med school, and that was it. I also was a gym quote manager, which meant I was folding like sweat towels, wiping down equipment, and like scrubbing toilets.
Oh gosh.
And I was nannying, and I was picking up all, I was working like 4 different jobs. And one of those jobs was teaching this one Friday at 5 p.m. yoga class that then started to take off. And then that turned to a few more. And then a few years later, that led to a studio, and that led to teacher trainings, and then ultimately retreats. And it's not like it just woke up and what I have now, 12, 13 years down the road, just appeared. Again, it's in like years of showing up and laying bricks. But in the beginning, it was really hard to see people that I felt like were already established and doing what I dreamt of. But the thing that's really phenomenal, and anyone listening who struggles with that too, or you feel like I'm looking at someone who's, established and I'm not, 2 things. One is you are definitely that for someone else, where they're looking at you being like, oh, that person already has this, and like, I won't, or they're already established in this and I'm not. You're definitely that for someone else, whether you believe it or not. You absolutely are. Yeah. And then the other thing that I've learned just over time is that when you do show up every day and you start laying bricks, you will get there, and you may get there in a different way. But now I look back, and when I was just starting out, 12 years ago, I didn't even know what to dream of, because I didn't even know what was going to be possible. Like, I don't even think I could have dreamt this big had I known. And like what I thought I wanted then changed, or my idea of what established was then at 23, 24 is now so different at, 34, 35 now. But like, I didn't even know how big I could dream then. I mean, like, podcasts weren't really a thing. There's so many, I didn't even know how good it was going to get, 12 years down the line. But showing up every day and laying bricks, saying yes to things, trusting my gut, and knowing that I was on my timeline and that I was going to do the things that felt good and right to me, brought me to a place that I didn't even know I could dream of. I didn't even know to dream this big.
I love that.
And so that's changed so much for me.
It's amazing. I think that's been the biggest lesson. And I'm so grateful for learning from like amazing women like you. I'm so lucky to have the job that I do with you and training, because I get to learn. And I feel like that's why I'm able to think this way. Because it's like, if you just follow in what feels like is calling you in that moment, it's like all of these other paths, they just open up. Like, you don't need to really search. Like, the opportunities just like come, and then you realize that, oh wait, no, this is what I want. Oh wait, no, this is what I want. Oh wait, no, and it changes. And once you like step into that purpose and that confidence and that acceptance, like we keep talking about, of yourself, it's like, then you get to really figure out like what it is that you actually want and love and desire in your life. And I think that's so powerful, to go against the grain and be okay with it, but it is really intimidating.
It is very intimidating, but you know what? No one is on their deathbed being like, you know what I wish I would have done? I wish I would have followed the blueprint a little more. I wish I would have done that, the things that society told me to do. It's always like, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I'm glad that I did this. And it's always the things that are a little bit against the grain. And no one's ever like, I wish I would have, followed the societal norms a little bit more.
No, you're so right. That's
not, I think about that too a lot. I don't know why, maybe it's a little bit more, but I think about, at the end of the day and like one thing that I got criticism about, and whatever, you're always hitting a missing target or whatever, a moving target, right? And then people being like, oh, why are you waiting until your 30s to have kids? It's like, that's a whole nother conversation about, all of that, right? But there is sometimes this pressure, oh, you've been married for this many years, no kids, why not? Whatever. And I don't regret that at all. And I feel like in my 20s in particular, I really did what I wanted to do. And I learned so much about myself, and it's allowed me to be a better person now in this new stage.
I love that. And giving yourself that opportunity to be able to actually get to know yourself, I feel like in your 20s is huge. Honestly, that's really what I've been trying to do. And my confidence, like, I feel like it comes from that, because it's like we're saying, like, taking the time for yourself and dating yourself and telling yourself good things and rewording it. It's like you learn that I have all of the control, like, of how I'm going to view myself. And when you take that and you run with it, then in your 30s, it's like, imagine where you could be. Like, you know, like, you're literally out here, you're my, like, mentor and, like, role model, and I'm sitting here praising you every single time I talk to you. And it's like, who would have thought in your 20s, like, oh, I'd be talking to this random 25-year-old girl from the other side of the country, and cool. Like, and now look at her. She, like, idolizes me. Never would have thought.
Oh my God.
You know? It's like, but it's got to be cool to be able to, like, watch yourself grow like that, you know?
That is one thing I feel really grateful for, the gift of aging, is that, you know, the older that I get, the more that I learn. Like, there's obviously, you know, the hard aspect of it. You know, like I said, even with, you know, my 2 kids, like, the older you get, just sometimes the more complex life gets, especially this year in particular. Life's thrown me a lot of kind of tricky adult life stuff. But on the positive side of that is that it is like another day alive. It is another day to learn. It is another day, whether it's, you know, laying a brick or even, you know, the hard days. But now I just have some more experience to pull from, even something that, like, now in my 30s, when I'm getting, you know, thrown curveballs that are hard, I already know, because I've done it before. I know that there will be a day that these things will be in my rearview mirror. But when I was first really having, like, big, real, you know, I guess my first big one was, you know, when my mom was sick, but so whatever, 16. But those first few, it felt like, am I ever going to get through this? Is this ever going to be in the rearview mirror? Is this ever going to be in the past? And now, having, you know, done it, you know, hard things for a long time, now I know when hard things come up, it doesn't make it any hard in the moment, but I at least know, because I have more experience to pull from, that, like, there will be a day that this will be in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, that there will be a day, like, one thing, like, at least for me personally in my 30s, I think my biggest confidence struggle right now is feeling like I'm losing my shine, in a way of, like, now that I'm giving so much to others, like, a little bit of that razzle dazzle that, like, my 20s had, that now I worry, you know, I think my confidence, or my worry, is just like, well, I don't know, do people think I'm, like, just a mom now? Which isn't innately a bad thing, but I think it's something that with any different life stage, it has its unique struggles. And so for me, being like, well, I do work less, I do travel less, I do, you know, wash my hair less, I do, you know, all of these things. And how do I feel about that? Is that me dulling my shine, or is that just something else? And so kind of picking through that. But even with that, I know that it's all kind of cyclical. It's all ups and downs. And again, everything is seasonal. And so I think just being able to accept some of those things, and being able to sit with it and kind of ask myself, I don't know, how do I feel about that? What is going on underneath the surface? That's been really helpful too. But yeah.
I think and that's honestly, like, what I was anticipating when it comes down into the biggest struggle in your 30s. I think that a lot of the times we compare ourselves. I mean, I'm not in my 30s yet. Soon, but
you're not really even that close.
But, like, what I've noticed as a pattern is, like, comparison to your previous self. And one bit of advice that I give as an observer of being on the receiving end from, like, people and moms and women in their 30s and 40s and whatever, you know, is your current self wouldn't have been able, your past self wouldn't have been able to do all of the things that your current self is doing right now. So you need to give up. It's not shine that you're giving up, but maybe a little bit of vacation time, and maybe a little bit of the movie solo date time that you're giving up to be able to do all these other amazing things. I just feel like it's the comparison to our past selves that really can also, not just other people, but it's comparison to who you were, but who you were couldn't do everything that yet you're doing as your present self. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand. And that's physical and emotional like tasks as moms, especially like bodies. It's like one thing that I really deal with a lot. It's like moms dealing with their bodies and the change after having a baby and be like, but I used to be able to. Well, that body that you used to be able to do that with didn't grow a whole human. And it did, you know what I mean? And it didn't go through all of those amazing things and amazing, but also traumatic things, like, you know? So it's like, in order for you to be able to do this amazing thing of giving life, like, you had to give up being able to jump on a box. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
without peeing your pants.
It's okay. Yeah. But it's okay. There's other amazing things you could do.
I think that is definitely like the confidence struggle in particular is definitely not comparing a current version of yourself to a past version.
Yeah.
Because that really doesn't help anything. But yeah, I do think that's when I think about it, like the biggest, at least for me in my 30s, the biggest struggle right now. And of course, everyone's going to have their own unique thing. But I was thinking we could end it on what is one tangible thing someone can do today, Alissa, to build their confidence?
I will say practicing the affirmations, I think, is going to be the one thing that I will stick with forever, is make it a point to say and hear and see yourself say something good about yourself. And I think that is a very quick, non-pressure way for people to start to learn and even become aware of like where their level of confidence lies in that specific moment and be able to just make changes, because that's something you'll be able to notice the change in a month from now. It's going to get easier to be able to say good things. And it's just like, I feel like that is tying it back to your bricks, an easy way to start with the bricks, you know, as simple as that is. I think that's the best way for people to do it and measure their growth that way.
I would say my tangible thing is ask yourself and reflect on what's something that's just part of my everyday life now that I used to only dream of. Or what is something I'm currently doing every day now that used to just be a goal of mine? Because I think that we're so used to what's the next thing, but often we are like implementing these things and then they just become a part of our norm. And then we forget that that's something that we just used to dream of. And it's like, no, you did that. Yeah. You got there. Now it's just integrated into part of everyday life. And so reflecting, even if it's just so simple, like, you know, I used to want to, you know, get out of bed when my alarm goes off. And now I just do. You know, it can be something like so simple. But I think that then speaks to your ability and your tenacity and that you can do things, that you do lay bricks, and you can continue to do this in confidence as well. And then doing something just to get to know yourself, connecting with your true self.
I love that. Grounding with your present version. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Definitely.
So Alissa, tell us how people can connect with you, how they can work with you, plug all of your things, let people know all the amazing work you're doing.
Great. This is amazing. So my Instagram is fittylissy. I will tag this in the YouTube description when I'm making this YouTube.
Because Alissa will be typing out the YouTube description and probably posting the Instagram story. So she will link to all of her things on
I
those
will link
places.
all of it, but FITTYLISSYY. And my podcast is Dear Alissa. If you want to go give it a listen.
I will link that because I do the show notes. I will link that in the show notes for all of those things. And are you taking on any virtual clients or anything like that? Are you doing any of that type of work or just mostly you're full?
I'm always taking on online clients. I do have an app, so I would love to work with anybody who's interested. You can either message me, DM me, or the link in my Instagram bio also has some information, and you can put like your phone number and plug that in. So I would love to work with anybody if you are willing, for sure. Definitely.
Amazing. Well, thank you for chatting with me, Alissa, talking about confidence, all sorts of things, and just having a good chat. It's so fun to have you here on Mindful Minutes because you've been such a part of this journey for so long, both like as a listener and now behind the scenes. And you're also just, I want people to know what an incredible person you are. I was thinking about this earlier today, and so I'm going to say it like on the record because I was going to text you and I didn't, and so I thought I will just tell it to you now. But you said something to me the other day that I was so appreciative of the other day. It was yesterday when we were in this impromptu meeting, and I told Alissa a goal that I have is to be able to really for June and July to just be present with the kids and to try to not like work so much. And like the first thing in our meeting was Alissa was like, okay, I had these ideas and I thought maybe I could do this and I could do this. Like, I want you to be able to just like really just be able to not have to do anything for June and July. I believe you called it my summer break. So for your summer break, you don't have to like do these things. And I didn't get a chance to tell you in the moment because Pork Chop was like being Buzz Lightyear and trying to like roll onto my laptop. However, I was so appreciative that you said that, and you're so giving and so caring to everyone, and particularly me, and you give such thought and intention in everything that you do. And it was so nice to I'm so used to working just for myself, and then to have you just show up and be like, I have these ideas for how I can take things off of your plate was just so great. And I was thinking about that all day, and I wanted to tell you, and I was going to text you, and then I thought I'll just tell her when I see her. So I just wanted you to know that. And I want everyone to know that Alissa is really great and such a kind, warm, loving person to me and to everyone else. And I imagine everyone listening that you are someone's Alissa out there, where someone is thinking like, I am just so grateful for them and the care and the love that they give and the intention that they put in everything.
Stop. Oh my God.
I was thinking about
I changed
that
my mind. This is going to be my new alarm clock. I changed my mind. That spiel is going to be it. You deserve literally truth. That and then some, Kelly. I tell you this all the time. You've like changed my life, and I tell her this all the time. So like, I feel like it's going to lose meaning at one day, but it really is just so true. So I'm so grateful, and like literally anything I could always do for you. So thank you. Thank you for having me on here too. Like this was so real. Like my dreams have come true, and now can be laid to rest.
Oh my gosh. Stop it. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you on Sunday, I believe, I'm going to be doing a confidence meditation. So I'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.